shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good morning, Detective. When you're ready, Mr. Dean.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your first and last name?
Yes, I'm Marion Lemmons. It's M-A-R-I-A-N, Lemmons, L-E-M-M-O-N-S.
And where are you from?
Richmond Hill.
And did you go to high school in Richmond Hill?
Did?
Are you a detective with the Chatham County Police Department?
Not currently.
Okay. But do you work for the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. When did you join the Chatham County Police Department?
Late 2018.
And can you describe your education leading up to joining the police department?
Yes. In May of 2018, I graduated from University of Georgia with a bachelor's in criminal justice.
And when did you go to the police academy?
Late 2018.
Okay. Had you already been hired on by the Chatham County Police Department at that point?
Yes.
And they sent you to the academy?
Yes.
And when did you finish the academy?
December of 2018.
And from that point, what did you begin doing for the Chatham County Police Department?
I did about a year and a half on patrol.
And after patrol, did you move into any specialized unit?
Yes, I went to the detectives unit.
And what do you all call the detectives unit formerly at Chatham County Police Department?
The Criminal Investigations Division, or CID.
I want to ask you just a couple questions about the organization of CID at this point. Okay. Can you tell us about the organization and staffing of it? Who comprises the detectives unit, or CID?
So in that division, there are several detectives who are general crimes detectives. We investigate everything. There's 2 sergeants who oversee us. There was a lieutenant at that time, and then a captain.
And how does CID become involved in any given case?
Typically, we are kind of like the follow-up unit. When a patrol officer goes out to a scene, they collect the initial information, and if it needs additional follow-up, it'll be sent over to the detectives unit. Or, like in this case, if something immediate and urgent is happening, a detective will respond out.
Now, as of October 2022, how long had you been with CID again?
About 2 years.
Okay. And what, if any, training had you gotten to that point, October 2022, in the way of homicide investigations?
I have taken, I believe it was in 2021, I took the homicide investigations course with GIPSTIC, which is the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. It's kind of like the mother agency for law enforcement in Georgia.
Okay. And can you describe that course for us? How long was it?
It was 5 days, and it was at the center in Forsyth County.
Had you taken? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was in city, Forsyth City.
Okay. As of October 2022, had you taken any other pertinent courses at GIPSTIC?
At GIPSTIC, I also took Child First, which is a course kind of showing the best practices for interviewing children. And I've also taken interviews and interrogations, and probably some other minor ones up to that point.
Can you describe what you mean by best practices for interviewing children through the Child First training that you mentioned?
Yeah, so interviewing children and adults is different. You want to be kind of broad with your questioning. Children are hyperactive too, so you want to make sure you can keep them on, track.
Now, this Child First child interview training, how did you end up going to that? Did you volunteer, or were you voluntold, as they sometimes say?
Volunteer.
And why was that?
So, like I said, our unit's general crimes, but we do kind of specialize. At that time, I had an interest in working child crimes, so any training I could get on the subject I wanted to go to.
And as of 2020, October of 2020, did you have any collateral duties involving crimes against children?
In 2020?
As of October 2022, were you involved in the investigation of crimes against children?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell us about that?
Yep. So at that point, I was a part of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which mainly focuses on child exploitation. I also did a large number of child abuse and child molestation cases.
In your normal capacity as a detective with the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as of October 2022, you had investigated child abuse cases?
Yes,
And had you investigated child deaths?
I have.
And had you investigated homicides?
I have.
And had you investigated any child abductions?
No,
And why is that?
they very rarely happen, if ever.
Now, your current positions, what are you doing currently?
I'm currently at the counter narcotics team.
Okay. What is the counter narcotics team?
It is a joint task force in Chatham. It's a collection of different law enforcement officers from different agencies in the area investigating narcotics.
And how long have you been with the counter narcotics team?
About 10 months.
You guys call that CNT?
We do.
Is that why when I asked you at the outset, are you a detective with the Chatham County Police Department, you said no?
Yes.
Okay, so you're tasked out to CNT,
Yes.
but you still get paid
Still in,
by,
yes.
by Chatham County Police?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a task force officer with any other task forces other than the counter narcotics team?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes. Beginning last year, I was a task force officer with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Child Crime Unit.
And are you still on that task force?
I am.
And how did you get involved in that?
So I had expressed my interest in working those kind of crimes, and I had worked jointly with the local FBI office on several cases, and I was asked to come over.
Now, with that background, I want to ask you about October 5th, okay? And I first want to ask you about the scene. Did you respond to 535 Buckhalter Road?
I did.
On October 5th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. I think we heard one witness say that you may have been the first detective for CID present on the scene. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay. Who was there from CID before you?
Detective Wilkins and Detective Noble.
Okay. And about what time of day did you arrive? Best of your recollection.
I believe it was after 12.
Okay. So when you got there, I'd like to ask you some questions to just kind of set the scene.
Yep.
Who was there and what was going on?
So by the time I got there, both Detective Wilkins and Noble were there. Our forensics team had the drone up, and they were beginning kind of a grid search with patrol officers, and we had several outside agencies coming to assist in the grid search.
Outside agencies, who are we talking about?
Yeah, we had a bloodhound, I believe, from Beaufort or maybe Liberty County out there that was trying to track. We had mounted patrol from Savannah was out there. Our Marine Patrol unit was out there, and I believe the sheriff's office as well.
Mounted patrol, meaning horse
Horses.
patrol?
Yes.
Okay. All hands on deck.
Yes.
Did you yourself ever enter the residence during your period of time on scene?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
I asked Sergeant Stewart to kind of give me a layout where everyone was staying, what the house looked like, since he was already familiar with it.
Okay. And did you go in, where did you go in, and what did you look at?
I went through the front door into the main living area for the family and looked at where Quentin's playpen was.
And what did you make of the playpen when you looked at it? Any observations that you remember?
It was covered in stains, specifically, a large one on the pillow.
Okay. And what did that stain to you appear to be?
Vomit.
And did it smell like vomit to you?
Yes, immediately when I walked through the front door, I smelled vomit.
Okay. One moment, please. I'd like to pull up a picture for you. Now, this is image 30 from State's Exhibit 10. is this the pack and play that you're describing, looking at?
Yes.
You said it was covered in stains. Can you point us to any of those in this image?
So, I mean, there's some on the lip right here that I could see, and then on the actual bedding, there were several stains.
Okay, so all this stuff around the edge there, did that appear to you to just be kind of general grime and dirtiness?
Yes.
Did it appear to you to be blood?
No, I was thinking more like Cheeto fingers and the kid touching the side.
Okay, as someone who was actually in the room and looked at it, that's what it looked like to you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is image 32 from State's Exhibit 10. In Officer Schenker, I think, said it appears redder on the screen than it appeared in the residence. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Your Honor, may I publish the paper version for the jury just by kind of getting a little Van White here?
Yes.
And actually, pass that around. Just to be clear, did this substance appear to you to be blood?
No.
You said it looked like vomit.
Smelled like vomit, yeah.
Now, I would like to play for you a brief portion of what's been introduced into evidence of State's Exhibit 2 and identified as Sergeant Bobby Stewart's body-worn camera footage. Was your observation of the pack and play captured on his body-worn camera?
It was.
And did you make any statements while looking at it, at the pack and play, about what it smelled like?
Yes, I immediately said it smelled like vomit.
Smelled like vomit? I'm trying to get just right to the right spot here.
Is that the exhibit? Is that the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, you can hand that back to the state's table.
Okay. It's not mine anymore, John. It belongs to the clerk. So I'll bring it back up.
All right, thank you.
All right. This is State's Exhibit 2, correct?
I'm not sure on the number, but I do remember seeing it.
Okay. In any case, what's the timestamp in the top right corner?
It is 12/31/20.
All right. What are we going to hear you say in this bit that we're going to play?
That it smells like vomit.
I can't stand the smell, so I'm gonna stand out here. They got them on the back porch. They're not in the house.
It smells like vomit.
All right. I've stopped the playback at 12:31:50 on the timestamp in the top right corner of State's Exhibit 2. Did you see anything that looked like blood in the residence that night?
No.
Now, in State's Exhibit 3, slide 27. What time are we at here?
This is 12:43:12.
And is that you on the far right?
It is.
And who are you talking to here?
I'm talking to Captain Wright, who's in the green shirt with the investigations unit, Captain Fandrich, Lieutenant Thompson, and Lieutenant Foster.
And what is going on at this time?
I'm informing them of our game plan, which was to move Daniel Youngkin, Paul Simon, and Leilani Simon to our main precinct for interviews.
Okay. And did that happen shortly after this exchange?
It did.
Okay. How was that arranged logistically?
Some of the patrol officers on scene drove the adults over.
And did they all agree to go in?
They did.
Now, where did you all go? I know you've mentioned it by some kind of shorthand.
Yep.
The precinct or something like that. But can you describe in a little more detail where this place is and what it is?
It's the Chatham County Police Headquarters on Chatham Parkway at 295 Police Memorial.
And why did you all want to go there?
So we had people showing up on scene, just more patrol officers, more search parties, and then some of the family members were also showing up, and we wanted to take the people that were living at the residence at the time that this occurred and get thorough interviews with each one of them.
Now, before we leave the scene, I want to ask you about what happened to the pillow and pillowcase and the pack and play that we were just looking at. I believe Officer Shanker testified that that was taken into evidence.
Yes.
And was the entire pack and play taken as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was that pillow and pillowcase and pack and play put into the property room or evidence room at the Chatham County Police Department?
It was.
And did you eventually sign it out?
I did.
And did you give it to FBI agent Savannah Solomon?
Yes.
And was that so that she could send it to the FBI lab for potential forensic analysis?
Yes, it had to be shipped to Quantico, Virginia.
Okay. And you were the one that signed it out and gave it to her?
I believe it was me, yes.
Okay. Now, how many interview rooms did you all have operational at the Chatham County Police Department at this time, October 5th?
So there's only one room that's set up for audio and visual recording.
And how is that room set up for audio and visual recording?
So there's a metal desk. I think it was metal at that time. There's a desk in the middle and then several cameras that are pointing towards one specific wall with whoever you're interviewing sits against.
Now, is the entirety of the precinct that you're describing open to the public? Like if somebody off the street walks in and wants to walk around, can they access every part of the precinct?
No, they can't.
Can you describe what you mean?
Yeah, so that precinct shares a building with the tag office. And once you get to the police side of it, there's locked doors with the police insignia on front. You can't get past those unless you have a key card. And then specifically where our interview room is, there's an additional set of locked doors you have to get through.
Now, past those locked doors into the police side, where the interview room is, are there sensitive areas in there?
Yes.
Can you describe what those are?
Well, we have patrol officer offices for all of the command staff is there as well. Forensics is in there. We have our secured property room and records and dispatch.
Okay. So when a normal citizen is back there, is it routine for them to be chaperoned or monitored by a police officer at all times?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you arrived, was the defendant already there?
To the precinct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything that you did between leaving the scene and getting to the precinct?
Yes.
Okay. And is that why she was already there when you got there?
Yes.
Okay. What was it that you did between leaving the scene, 535 Buckhalter, and going to the precinct?
So I was told that there was a older child, I believe he was around 3 years old, Zane, and I wanted to speak with him as well as some family members.
And where was he?
Zane had been brought over to the babysitter, Michelle's residence by that time.
And where is that in relation to this house, 535 Buckhalter?
It's across the street about a block away.
Okay. Did you walk there or drive?
I think I just walked.
Okay. Did you make contact with Zane there?
I did.
And his last name is?
Wharton.
Did you attempt to talk to him?
I did.
Interview him?
Yes.
Can you tell us how that went?
It was
First of all, what were you trying to ask him?
just if he knew where Quentin was. I think I asked if he knew where Quentin likes to hide. I don't know if anything happened last night.
Okay. And was that interview productive in any way?
No.
Can you describe what you mean?
Zane was showing me how fast he could run at that time, so his focus was not on me. And it was hard to get him to acknowledge me, not only to answer my questions, but to just acknowledge my existence.
Okay. So is it fair to say that the interview or attempted interview with Zane was kind of a bust?
It was.
And again, how old was he at the time?
At 3.
Okay. But you tried.
I did.
And again, you had specific training to interview children.
Yes,
And it just did not work.
it did not.
Now, at the scene, we saw an image of the public information officer in Sergeant Stewart's body-worn camera slides. What's her name?
Betsy Nolan.
Okay. And why was she there?
So anytime there's a critical incident, Ms. Nolan will usually do some sort of press release, or she'll respond to any media requests for us.
Okay. And did media show up to the scene that day at some point?
They did.
Okay. And they had to be kind of held off to the ends of the street to keep the scene secure?
Yeah, at that point we would have had a grid search in that entire area, so we needed the media to go somewhere specific instead of responding to the scene itself.
Okay. Is it normal for the public information officer to come out to deal with them?
Yes,
Because they want to know what's going on.
yes.
And she's the one that's responsible for giving a statement from the police department to the media.
Yeah, and then relaying any information about what the media needs to put out. At this case, it was a missing child, so she needed them to put out, has anyone seen this child?
Anything unusual or nefarious about Betsy Nolan, the PIO, having been out there at
No.
this scene? Okay. All right. So when you get to the precinct for these interviews, Daniel, Paul, and Leilani are already there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And where were they, the three of them?
When I got there, Daniel was in our main interview room. Leilani was in a spare room that we also used as a lactation or nursing room, and then Paul was in a conference room.
Why were they all in separate rooms?
Because we needed to get their statement individually without any other influence.
And were they transported there separately in the first place?
I'm not entirely sure.
Who interviewed whom?
Yeah, so at that point we had Agent Snyder's team had joined us. So we had a FBI agent and a detective paired off. So Agent Brad Snyder and I interviewed Leilani. Agent Solomon, Savannah Solomon, and Detective Noble interviewed Daniel Youngkin. And then Paul Simon was interviewed by Special Agent Burns and Detective Wilkins.
Okay. I want to ask you kind of a technical question about the indictment here. There are a number of false statement charges in the indictment.
Yes.
Have you reviewed it?
I have.
And it is an element of the false statements offense in Georgia that the matter that the person was being questioned about was within the jurisdiction of the Chatham County Police Department to investigate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it within the jurisdiction of the Chatham County Police Department to investigate the disappearance of a child who lives in Chatham County?
Yes.
Thank you. So you have these local and federal teams, and you said you were paired up with Special Agent Snyder.
Yes.
And what was the first thing that y'all did?
So Agent Snyder and I had not spoken to Leilani at that point. We wanted to hear it from her, what had happened in the last 24 hours.
And did you conduct an interview with her at that point, sometime shortly after your arrival?
We did.
And where was that interview conducted?
In the lactation/spare room.
And who all was there?
Myself, Leilani, and Agent Snyder.
And was that interview recorded?
It was.
How was it recorded?
I recorded it on my cell phone.
Okay. How was your cell phone positioned during this
I
interview?
Yeah, I did a video recording and kind of just set it down on the table, and the camera angles facing up at the ceiling tiles.
Now, what was the goal of this initial interview? What were y'all looking for?
To hear it from her, what had happened in the last 24 hours.
Okay. And did you ask her for an account of her day on October 4th and her night on October 4th and the early morning hours of October 5th?
Yes,
And did she give that to you?
she did.
To the best of your recollection, I know I'm asking you to kind of summarize a lot, but what was that account?
So she described getting her wisdom teeth pulled, returning home with Daniel, eventually getting the kids, getting them, together that night. She talked about laying down to sleep that night. Her tooth started hurting, so she left to get Orajel.
And what time was she saying that Orajel trip was at?
Around 1.
And where was she saying that she had gone to get that Orajel?
To the Chevron gas station.
And where is the Chevron gas station that she was referring to?
I believe it's 4800 Ogeechee Road.
Is it the one that we were looking at in the pictures with Officer Schenker?
Yes,
The one right next to the Azalea Mobile Home Plaza?
yes.
And who was she saying that she had gotten Orajel from?
Her former coworker, Misty.
Now, you've seen the statement the recorded statement that Lieutenant Foster got from her on scene.
Yes.
Was her story to you about this Orajel trip that you're talking about, her providing in the lactation room initially, was it substantially the same as what she had told him on scene?
Yes.
Now, in this this first interview in the lactation room, did she mention anything about a trip to her drug dealer earlier in the night?
No.
Was she asked about her brother Paul's whereabouts through the night?
Yes.
And as best you can remember, what did she say?
I believe she described him returning home that night from work and maybe stopping in to say hello and then going upstairs to his room for the remainder of the night.
Was she asked about Danny's, her boyfriend Danny's whereabouts and activity through the night, say from, 11 p.m. on or something like that?
Yes.
And what did she say about that, as best you remember?
That he was in bed. I believe she said they were watching a movie
Okay. Well, all night or what point in time?
before they went to sleep,
Okay.
around 12:30.
And was she putting him in bed asleep after that point?
Yes.
Was she asked about when Quentin went to bed and where?
Yes.
Okay. And what did she say about that?
That around 10:30 she'd put him in his pack and play for the night. He took about 40 minutes kind of doing a babbling, crying until he finally fell asleep.
Was she asked about any drug use
She
that
was.
she might have engaged in that night?
Yes.
And what did she have to say about that?
I believe at that point she said that she had smoked weed.
Did she mention any other drugs?
No.
Okay. Do you see in front of you, first of all, a disc marked as States Exhibit 12?
Yes.
What is that?
It is the 911 call from the communication center.
Is this something that you eventually obtained and incorporated into your case file?
Yes,
And does that include a certificate of authenticity from the 911 communication center?
it does.
Your Honor, I would move this in as State's Exhibit 12.
Objection, Judge.
Okay, it is admitted.
All right, so this is the disc containing the audio of the 911 call that kicked this whole investigation off, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to publish a portion of this recording at this time.
All right, please proceed.
And I'm going to play from the very beginning to about 45 seconds in.
9:38:37 seconds, October 5, 2022. Where's your emergency?
Yeah, I need to come 535 Buck Halter Road. We believe it's going to be kidnapped.
535 Bull Halter?
Yes.
You said someone's been kidnapped?
Yeah, we.
Your 1-year-old son?
All right, so I've stopped the playback at 45 seconds in. That file's a few minutes longer, correct?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the remainder of that is mostly Daniel Youngkin talking?
Yes,
And is that the male voice that we heard on there as well?
it is.
And there's also some of the defendant providing biographical information about her son.
Yes.
And which son did she say it was?
Quentin Simon.
At some point during the investigation, did you learn Quentin Simon's birthday?
I did.
And what was it?
It's 1/8/21.
1/8/21. So that would that put him at 20 months old on October 4th, 5th of 2022?
Yes.
So that's the initial statement that gets the police involved to begin with from the defendant, correct?
Yes.
And what time was that call made? Did you catch it?
I believe it was 9 and 9:40.
You want me to play it again?
Yes.
Okay. 9:38:37 seconds, October 5, 2000.
All right, what time was that call?
9:38
Okay.
a.m.
All right, so let's go back to the lactation room and your first interview. You mentioned you recorded that on your phone.
Yes.
Is that the only interview you conducted of the defendant on that day?
No.
All right. Do you see in front of you an envelope containing a thumb drive, the envelope being marked as State's Exhibit 13?
Yes. Yes.
Now, broadly speaking, what's on this thumb drive?
It was the October 5th interviews of Leilani Simon.
Okay. Do those recordings, they're video recordings, correct?
Yes.
From the lactation room on your phone, right?
Yes.
And then later from the interview room?
Yes.
Do those recordings fairly and accurately depict those interviews?
They do.
Now, have those ones been altered or modified in any way?
They've been redacted to comply with the court's orders.
Okay, so some portions have been taken out?
Yes.
Okay. All right. At this point, I would like to publish what is on that. Well, let me offer it, and I'd like to introduce that, Your Honor, as State's Exhibit 13.
No objections, subject to the redactions, Judge. So,
Exhibit 13 is admitted subject to the redactions.
All right. I'd like to now publish what is on this thumb drive is lactation room first video. Would that be okay, Your Honor?
Yes.
And actually, as I open it up, I realize that this is a 28-minute video, and it is 11:45. Would the court like me to proceed or not?
All right, I'm going to hear from Mary and get a consensus. The next video is close to 30 minutes long. We can play that now, or we can hold it until after lunch. Okay, the general consensus is head yeses, and we can move on. So let's go ahead and hear that video, see that video.
My name is Brad Snyder. I work with the FBI. We've worked together a lot with Chathom. So anytime you respond to something like this, if they find any evidence that doesn't exist in the FBI, tell them how it was. I understand.
That's why he's here.
I understand. But we're going to do everything.
And I'm Detective Lemmons. I haven't met you yet. I wasn't at the scene earlier, but I just wanted to come here and talk and get some more information too, okay? Will you spell your name for us?
It's Leilani.
L-A-N-I.
Just one more time, I'm sorry.
Leilani.
And what's your last name?
Simon.
Two M's or just one? What's your date of birth?
11/30/99.
So right now, again, we're sorry for everything you're having. We can't imagine the emotion that you're feeling right now. But as difficult as it is, just once you kind of think back the last 24 hours, and just kind of give me, what you've been through in the past 24 hours. So we're talking 24 hours would be this time yesterday. So from about 1 o'clock yesterday, just want to tell me your...
dentist getting my wisdom tooth pulled.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's coming today.
Did you have your son with you?
No, I had a babysitter because I went to work and I left because of the amount of pain that I had. So I just went there and I had them keep the kids.
And where are you working right now?
Eclipse IA in Port Whitworth.
Eclipse? What type of work is that?
Warehouse.
Plumbing.
Okay. And all that stuff. Or whatever. So I called the babysitter and asked her to hold him a little bit longer. All the kids. She had all three of them. He still was with me. And I was hurting. I wanted to go home and nap. So I
Did
got
they give
home.
you any sort of hydrocodone or anything for the pain?
Ibuprofen.
Ibuprofen.
It's 800 milligram. I went to spend $15 on 800 milligram ibuprofen. That's how I went. So I went home. I took a nap. We cleaned
About
up
what
a
time do
little
you
bit.
think that was?
We officially got about 2, a little bit after 2. I had about an hour and a half nap before we got up and got things going to go pick up the kids. And I made spaghetti before we picked them up. That's still in the fridge at the house. We went and picked them up and gave them all a bath. We had food. I sent Danny out to Red Box to get a movie for the kids and all of us to watch tonight. So that's there too. And I put them down to bed and Quinn he's a talker. He doesn't cry when he's tired. He just talks, babbles. So he lays there and talks to himself. It takes him about 40 minutes to fall asleep. He's over there, blah, 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 blah. We're however long it is. He finally fell asleep. It was probably almost 2:30. When he finished, baths, dinner, cleaning up, all that stuff was done for about 9:30, a little bit of TV time, and then, bed. We went to bed. Oh, my mouth was really bothering me about almost 1 in the morning. I called Circle K to see if they had orange out. No. So I got in contact with another one of my friends named Misty that I used to work with. Who has a lot of mouth problems, and asked her if she had any orange. I met her up there at the Chevron. And I called her. And got back and went back home. Y'all, it's gone 12 minutes. I got it for my Life 360. I can show y'all right around everything that's on the left bills I get back. Get home, put it in my mouth, checked on all the kids again, they were all good.
What time was that again?
It was 1:25. I looked at my app when they asked me to. Then I got home. Because I was going 12 minutes. Literally what it showed. And I go there, put it in. I check the kids. Everybody's good. Sky, she's out asleep on the couch. Quentin knocked out like this in his playpen and was aiming with a tablet on his chest that I wasn't touching. It's all on the bed. I'll wake up about 9. Almost 9. And I was supposed to go to work, but because of this, I was just going to stay home today. Which is why none of the kids got the babysitters. When I get home, my front door was partially open, but hopefully it was not wide open. The door's never open unless somebody is out. Normally, ever. And I get up and I go shut it, not even thinking nothing about it. I just got out of bed, the door open, let me shut the door, and I turn around and I check on the kids. Sky's there. Zane's there. Quinn's not there. So I searched the house, under the bed, behind the couches, in the closets, in the cabinets, outside, inside, everywhere. The pool, everything. Couldn't find them. I called Jeremy. Did you take them to the babysitters just to give me an easier day or something? Did you, forget to tell me, or did you tell me and I not remember? He's like, no, he was there. He was sleeping in the playpen room up this morning. I was like, well, he's not there. So then I called the cops and I called Michelle, which is the babysitter, to try to help me look a little bit farther out. Because I got 2 kids out of the house and it was, my brother was asleep. And I had 2 kids and it was just me searching and screaming and I couldn't find anything at all. I couldn't even find this cup he had. But he went to bed.
You couldn't find his
Couldn't find his cup.
cup?
His cup. And then he had a little Mickey Mouse stuffed animal toy he went to bed with. That wasn't in the bed either.
Does Quentin take any medication at all? Does he have to?
No, he only had one medical issue, which would hopefully fix itself by the time he reached the age of 10. And it's one of the arteries, one of the main arteries to his heart, doesn't pump like it's supposed to.
Okay.
And that's the only issue he had at all. This boy was walking before he was even 7 months old. It's a smart little boy.
Has he ever, describe me his bed. Is it like a crib or a
playpen.
A playpen.
We did playpen for him.
Okay. Has he ever gotten out of the playpen before on his own? So he doesn't.
He cannot get up on his own. The boy can't even get his foot up there if he tried.
He can't step on something. There's nothing in the crib.
Nothing in the crib but a pillow and a blanket. And that's the only thing he had. The only time that he's ever managed to get out of it was with my oldest son's help. He'd come and grab the side of the playpen and look quick as he time out. Nobody would time out in front of my oldest. And he'd go and grab that playpen and snatch it down and get his brother on out. But the playpen's always knocked over when that happens. Everything's out of it. The part that you lay on the, whatever, out of it. Everything's out of it. Nothing was flipped over. Nothing was missed. Nothing at all.
And you have full custody of Quentin?
No, my mother does.
Okay.
I found myself in a very hard situation where my boyfriend at the time left me and I got down to a job and my car broke down when he said I had transportation. So I voluntarily signed over in temporary custody to my mother until I could get up on my feet. I've just now recently got to where at the end of this month we were supposed to be going to put money down in the house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for all of us. So after that happened, we were going to begin the process of giving me back the custody and legal rights.
And your mom lives with you?
That's her house that we were at. Since she has temporary custody, I wanted to make sure, we would all want to make sure that the kids were, they were supposed to be legally by the book, because I could have had to move up to North Carolina, even though it's a little 2-bedroom apartment. I could have done that after, but I was homeless for 2 months before I even got that. So, I'm gonna be okay, y'all.
I know.
He's so little, he's so sweet.
what you're going through, and I wish I had some tissue. Do you have any tissue right here? Is that any tissue?
No, I got seriously, I don't need any clothes.
Okay.
And I'm broken.
What is that?
I'm broken.
Ibuprofen.
I am familiar with it.
Just, we're going to, you can rest assured, that everybody working this is going to do everything feasibly possible to help find your son. Okay?
My father, him and I haven't been on good terms since before I found out I was pregnant. He stopped talking, and 3 weeks later I found out I was pregnant. So,
What is his name?
the father's name is Henry Moss.
Okay.
He goes by Bubba.
Okay.
And,
When was the last time you saw him?
I haven't seen him in over a year.
Does he know where you live?
He does. Because I try not to be like every mother out there. So when I moved back down here and I knew that it was substantially closer to where he stayed at, I was just like, well, this is where I'm at. If you want to see your son, let me know. Here's an address. Or if all he was trying to do was use Quentin as an excuse to get in my pants. So I stopped denying him to visit his son.
When did you do that?
4 months, 5 months ago.
4 or 5 months ago.
Started denying him. Started ignoring him. Just blocked him on everything. The Facebook that I have tried to pull up now is the new one that he recently sent me a friend request with him, so I can see if I try to get in contact with him, but I'm blocked that. So I have no contacts, I have no numbers.
Are those still on your phone?
Huh?
Are those messages still on your phone, maybe?
I don't know if it's still on that phone. I have multiple different phones. I'm in like 3 Facebooks.
Yeah. Do you have your phones here?
There.
Okay. Do you mind if we get the password to your phone so we can look it up?
Okay. Yeah, you can bring it up. I try to pull it up.
Here. Is it a drawing or is it just numbers?
Oh, it's 1864.
1864?
1864.
I don't know if I have messages because that phone, like I said, it's a phone that I use for my mother after my mom was broke. And I didn't have to make new accounts. So I'm not too sure if it's on that account.
Gotcha.
Or if it's on the other account. But I know when I tried to search him up today to try to show the officers or whatever, because one of the last messages I remember getting it from him said, "You do not deserve to have Clinton. I'm going to get a paternity test and I'm going to take my child." Yeah.
Henry said that.
Yes.
Bubba said that.
Bubba said that. Bubba Moss.
When did he say that?
Yes.
When?
3 weeks ago. And then today was the first time that my babysitter, when I heard her talk.
I paused it at 11 minutes and 54 seconds in. I just want to ask you some questions about what the defendant just said there. Can you just sort of recap for us what she was saying about these supposed Facebook messages from Quentin's father, Henry Bubba Moss Jr.?
Yeah, she was describing Henry Moss's Facebook account that they had been communicating, and that he had been saying that he was going to take Quentin after he gets a paternity test.
And she was saying those messages had been sent when in relation to this interview?
I believe those specific ones she said a few weeks prior.
Okay. Now, did you look in her phone that day?
I did.
And were you able to see any messages along those lines in her Facebook?
No.
Was she able to pull them up and show them to you?
No.
Did you at some point obtain a search warrant for her Facebook records or a portion thereof?
Yes.
And did you send that to Facebook?
I did.
And did they send you some information in response?
They did.
Some of her Facebook records?
Yes.
Were you able to find those messages that she's describing in the Facebook records that you got back?
No.
And I'll resume playback at 11 minutes 54 seconds where I left off, Your Honor.
Okay.
Cops there, but she's seen cars sitting in front of my house quite a few bit recently. And I looked at her and I was like, "Why didn't you tell me about that?" I told your mother, but she didn't tell me I'm the one here.
Yeah.
I could have been more cautious if I felt like somebody was watching the house.
Now, every question that we ask, I promise you, you're going to think that, we're intruding on your privacy, but I can assure you, every question that we ask has a purpose to try to figure out, every feasible possible angle there is to this case. So with that, you know, we're not looking to get you in trouble for past drug use, for past drug abuse, but it's employee.
Listen,
Okay.
and whatever medicine they jacked up in my mouth yesterday.
So do you owe any debts to anybody? Do you have anybody that you?
I don't owe money to nobody.
You owe drugs.
No, I do not borrow. I do not front. I don't do anything like that. I don't owe anybody any money at all.
How much marijuana? How frequently would you say you use marijuana?
Once a night.
Once a night?
Twice a night before I go to bed. Normally, the kids are asleep. Everything's handled. Dishes, food, kitchen. Time for my husband to go to sleep. I have severe anxiety.
And where do you get the marijuana from? Do you purchase it yourself, or do you get it through?
I purchase it myself. There's been times that I've gone to the dispensaries and I've done CBD, actual, and that's what I've been doing a lot lately. I think the last time I bought, like, actually, like, off the street was probably about 3 weeks ago, and it was nothing but eggs. Because I've been trying to use the dispensaries around the house.
So nobody has any sort of
Debt.
motives to do any harm to you, to get back at you because you owe them money. Like going back to your time in North Carolina, there's nobody that would want to cause harm to you or to your family that you can think of. Any person that you got sideways with when you were running with the wrong crowd? Is there nobody like that at all?
No. I know Daniel's the one from North Carolina. I moved up there to be with him. Daniel's the one from North Carolina. I know that I have caught him cheating multiple times. I have been in contact with his exes before because of it. Or whatever. And I might be in pull-up messages where, his ex was pretty much, saying that, send him on back home. You know, I miss my best friend. It's a long paragraph. Like I can't really tell you, but like, and I told Cheryl, I was like, he's a good man. He's a good husband, he's a good father, and you don't miss out, is what I told her. So any type of altercations between me and somebody else out there would have been over him and probably towards another woman. But at that time, I didn't never have my kids touch me. I never had my kids touch me. Nobody even knew them. I didn't even know what they looked like. So, I mean, I'm confused.
And who all lives in the house that's your mother's? Who lives there? I understand the kids, but adults.
Paul.
Who is Paul?
That's my little brother.
That's your brother. Who's the one that was sitting here with you? Okay.
And then Daniel and me.
And Daniel is
my fiance. And then my stepdad and my mom. There's 3 dogs.
Okay.
And the kids.
Tell me about Paul. What does Paul do?
I just got a job with me at the warehouse. He's honestly studying to take his ASVAB to go to the military. Whatever. I haven't had much communication with my brother over the past year. He went down different roads, I went down different roads. Me and my mom were all on and off. And so, like, I distanced myself with my family, which is kind of where North Carolina came involved. He just finished his GED. He works 2 to 10 shifts.
So he goes in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, comes home at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, so, like, he's leaving, normally it's like 1:20 when he leaves, and by the time he gets home, it's about 10:30.
Is he driving himself there?
Yeah, he drives a white Silverado at the house, and which is my stepdad's truck. My brother just got permission to use it. I'm supposed to be taking him to go pick up his truck from Midway sometimes in a week.
Is that car at the house now?
Yes.
Okay.
The Silverado's at the house, and my Dodge is at the house.
Okay.
And Paul was at the house when Quentin was missing?
Yeah, because I got up and I started yelling and screaming for anybody, and everybody, please just come help me. I couldn't find him.
Where was he?
My brother was upstairs in his room. I was just running there and started yelling at him, please come help me, I can't find Quentin. I think one of the very first things I said to him was just, please tell me for some weird reason you got him upstairs. He got up, he came down there to try to help.
Is Quentin a kid that, I know you mentioned he talks himself to sleep, but does he cry? Does he cry himself to sleep ever?
He's like I can't even explain it. He just lays there. like, most of the time it's not even words. And if it is, it's Mama E.T. Play.
What kind of relationship does Paul have with Quentin?
They're playful. When Paul gets home, if I need help, he is very helpful with the kids. If I need him to watch the kids while I'm cooking, he knows. If I need him, anything like that, cleaning wise, or he'll just go in there and lay on the floor and play with them with the kids, and with the dog and the kids and the toys. That's normally it though. Maybe hang out and play an hour more a day. Because normally I kind of try to keep all my kids inside of the house. I was on installed up and running through the house trying to clean up everything all day long.
Any reason at all for Paul to leave the house after he got home? At what time? He gets off work at 10, so what time does he normally get home?
About 10:30, and then he gives his friend a ride home, but it's like 11.
So what time did you get home last night?
10:40.
10:40. Do you know whether he left the house after 10:40?
He ain't going nowhere.
So from 10:40 until you went and woke him up at about 9 o'clock.
He was upstairs in his room.
And no indication that he left. You didn't hear the door open, nothing.
No door opening. The truck didn't even look like it was moved in the slightest way at all.
So from your perspective, 100% Paul was at the house from 10:40 until you woke him up this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What was Paul's initial reaction when you went up and said, "Hey, Quentin's missing"? And
He jumped up and kind of looked like freaking out. He was like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean Quentin's missing?" I was like, "He's missing. I can't find him. Come help me." And then I started running back down the stairs and then opening closets because I know there's closets and everything under the sinks, everything. And Paul was out there running and chasing and looking, and finally looked at him. I was like, "Come on."
So the first phone call that went out, was that a phone call that Paul made or a call that you made?
The first phone call that went out was when I made to Danny. When I got up and I shut the door and I went and checked on the kids and I noticed that he wasn't there. That was the very first phone call that went out about Quentin being gone. The second one would have been to Michelle or whatever. And when she said that she didn't see anybody coming to the house and nobody pick them up, didn't see nothing like that, and then she came over and tried to help look as well, and she was like, "You want to check the closets again?" I was like, "We're just going to call the cops. We're going to call the cops." Call the cops. The cops were called by 9:30.
And you made that call tonight?
Yes. I'm going to call them.
Okay. Did Danny make any calls?
I think he was trying to, but something was going on with his phone. Which is why I was the one who ended up making the call.
And let's talk about Danny. So how long have you and Danny been dating? Or have you been engaged?
We've been together for almost 2 years, engaged for the past year.
So Danny and Bubba, they're aware of each other?
They have never met or spoke to each other at all. Never. I don't even think. I know Danny knows what Bubba looks like. Bubba don't know what Danny looks like. That I know of. That I'm aware of. So there has been no altercations between Danny or the other fathers of my kids. There's no altercations between them at all. I try to be the middle person about everything.
So what's Danny's routine? Any given day, what's his daily routine? What does he do?
His daily routine, normally, if we gotta work, he's up normally about 5. He gets ready to start taking the kids to babysitters about 5:30. Because normally I'm going to sleep another 10 minutes. Since I send them over there and I get dressed. Then we go to work. We get off.
Y'all ride to work together?
Yes, we work the same shift, 6 to 2. 6 a.m. to 2:30.
Today just happened to be your day off.
Today just happened to be, I got my wisdom teeth pulled yesterday and I wasn't going to work. So, about that, when he gets off, we can't leave the warehouse at all once we get there. So there's no going out for something for lunch or nothing like that. So when he gets off, we normally stop by the convenience store or gas station or whatever, something to drink, snacks, sometimes snacks for the kids or dinner. And then we go straight from there to picking up the kids. We pick up the kids and we go home. Daddy normally cooks dinner while I'm getting the kids adjusted from getting home. So when I take them inside.
Last night, did he cook the spaghetti last night? Or
No, I cooked the spaghetti last night because no seasoning.
No seasoning.
No seasoning.
So when Danny got home from work last night, at what time?
4:30? No, it was we left work together yesterday for my wisdom tooth because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to drive. They were gonna inject me or So we were home early yesterday. We didn't pick up the kids until 4:30. And I wanted to know. That because we hadn't before we were there.
What did y'all do when you got from the time you got home until 4:30? Or just hanging out, the two of you at the house?
We did like cleaning up the laundry, setting the meat up for us. We got cutting up the sausages and mushrooms or whatever.
And y'all were there at the house together?
Yeah, we were there together the whole time. I think he went up to the store once for a beater. That was it.
What time would that have been?
Probably 3:45, right before we had our kids.
And then, did he leave the house at any other time between, once you went to get the kids, you came home, you ate the spaghetti, did Danny leave between that time and 5:45 this morning? Never at all. He was at the house the
He was
entire
at the
time.
house the entire time.
How do you know that?
He was on bed.
He was beside you.
He was on bed.
Y'all
And
sleep in the same
yeah,
bed?
we sleep in the same bed. We only have one side of the house. So we got the kitchen that we can only really use to cook in. Obviously, we clean up. We got our bathroom. Then there's the doorway to our bedroom. And that bedroom is just like pretty much like one big old studio bedroom. They had one side of the room was like the kids' sleep/living room. And then the other side was our bed. Whatever. That's the only side of the house we had nothing. I can say for a fact that he was there and it was laying in bed pissing me off, not helping me do anything this week.
Now, who physically picked Quentin up and put him in the playpen last night?
I did. I put him in there after we ate, bathed, bath, everything, laid down, had the tablet set up for him and everything. So he was laying there. I should have the tablet. And when I took that away, he was for about 40 minutes.
And what time did you take the tablet away?
9:15.
9:50.
9:52.
Was he asleep at that point, or he was still battling at that
He was
point?
babbling at that point. He didn't fall asleep till about 10:30,
Yeah.
10:40. But no, he was still like the way. That's when it was. I can't even make the noises even.
Yeah. So during that time, when you hear him babbling, you don't go in there and check on him. You just hear him.
Yeah, we hear him babbling the whole time or whatever. The way that it is set up, honestly, checking on him like he's like this on the bed and sleep. So I'm just hearing him babble. It's when it gets quiet that I check. That's when I'm worried. So when it got quiet, that's when we really in there and checked. 12 something before I left to go get some orders. So I checked again. He's asleep.
Where is Daniel?
Thank you. I think we need to take a brief pause. I'm going to ask the jurors to step into the jury room.
Jurors exiting.